big thing that I felt like really put us into a place where we were like, man, this thing might really destroy us. Especially me. I just thought it was the end for me. And, obviously, those who know us, those who may not know us, obviously, we started a church, as we mentioned. And so we had the privilege of leading the church for close to almost nearly 3 years. And it was a beautiful experience, obviously, serving our community, taking care of the people that we took care of. Shout out to all those who supported at the time the church that we launched. And we got to, I'll never forget, in September, it was in September, and I'll never forget, it was on a Wednesday, and I get this crazy phone call because we're leasing this building, serving people. I mean, we got a food market, we got clothing pantry, we got showers, I mean, diaper closet. I mean, we doing big things. It's working out. We got tons of partnerships. People are coming on a weekly basis. And obviously, because of that,
we had washer and dryer.
We had washers and dryer. We were about to set up a whole laundry kind of like room or facility for people to come in who were homeless or who just needed to come in and get,
wash their
clothes, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we got stuff in motion, and it's beautiful. And obviously, when you're serving in that capacity, people are showing up. Now, I'll never forget on that September back in 2022, right? Two, right? Last year. Crazy, last year. And so I'll never forget, I get that phone call on that Wednesday, and the landlord calls me and say, hey, I need you to come by the building. I need to talk to you because I'm here, and it's a lot going on. So I'm like, okay. So, of course, I show up. He's looking crazy. And
your staff was calling you too.
Yeah, I was calling too to find out, Pastor, so you're going to be here soon.
Because he's here.
He's acting up.
A fool.
And then I get there, and basically, he shared with me, man, you got too many people here. You're doing too much here. We're not agreeing for you to use our facility to help all these people. I'm like, what? What kind of? What? That don't even make sense. We're a church.
We don't help people.
We don't help people? What are you talking about? And you already know from the beginning, from the get-go, I told you this is our goal, right? We were going to use the facility as a hope center to help people. And so he was like, nah, this is just way too much. And so basically he just got real frustrated and mad. He was calling his which is his brother, who was another landlord or management part of the process. And basically they made a decision to say, hey, you got to shut all this down today, immediately.
Yeah, and the people were there to serve.
And so you got to imagine, I'm walking around,
so
escorting people out. It was one of the most deflating things that I ever experienced, because to see the people's faces like, we needed this help, but you can't get this help because this man is telling you.
And it's right here.
That,
like there's food, there's clothing.
It's just crazy. So to walk.
I'm next to take my shower.
Yes, I'm next to take my shower, right? People in the lobby, you sitting there waiting, and you're deflated. And I felt like, I don't know if you ever experienced where you feel like your inside is just falling apart. I just feel like everything in me was just falling into
That's
like a deep space.
That's how I felt when Jalen was diagnosed.
Yeah, and it was so deflating. And we left that, literally, that day, everybody was escorted out. We locked the doors, and obviously we tried to move on until I got another phone call the next day and an email, which was a letter that they wanted me to sign. And basically, and you can confirm this, the letter basically said to agree to the terms of not using this facility or the grounds of the facility in any capacity, any way, to be able to help the poor, the needy, or any homeless individuals. If you can agree to those terms, then you can move forward.
Right. Yeah, he said that we wouldn't be able to stay in the leasing agreement if you did not sign that paper.
Yep.
And so, how can a church sign something like that?
Yeah, to not help those who are in need. And so
that's what churches do.
And so
at least that's what churches should be doing. I should say.
I'll never forget Thursday. That was the day that it was official. I was like, I can't do that. and it was done. It was a wrap. That was the end of our church journey because I just refused to sign off on something like that. But that whole process led me to, I had been through depression, but I hadn't been depressed like this. I was a wreck. I was avoiding you guys. I wasn't talking to you guys.
Yeah,
I was in a very painful, because that was tragic. That was a tragedy to me, to end something that you feel like God had called you to, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know, how do you deal with a painful experience or a tragic experience, especially when you feel like God is involved in it, right?
Right.
And that's where it gets tough, because you're like, God, I feel like you're involved in this, but all of this is falling apart, and it fell apart right in front of my face, and it was devastating, embarrassing, it was deflating, and these people still need help, but we can't even help them. It was awful, and so I was messed up for a while, and I was questioning God, I was questioning my faith, I was questioning.
That's probably the scariest part for me.
Yeah, I think you were like, because you had never heard me.
No, that was
not
very
being a person
strange.
who was very faithful in expressing his faith and committed to his faith, and just the way I would deal with circumstances.
I would say something that was faith filled, and he would be like, "I don't even know if that's real."
Yeah,
I don't even know.
I was questioning all of that stuff. I'm like,
but how do we know if God is even real?
Yeah, like,
and I was like stunned. I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Number one, God has always been what helped us navigate through difficult situations, and He ain't trying to hear that right now. So, what technique am I gonna use to help pull him out of this? Because he has to be pulled out of this, because either he's gonna end up killing himself, or he's gonna end up getting so bad to where we have to walk away from him, because it's not going to be healthy for me and our children anymore.
Yeah. And I remember you basically told me, like, you got to get this together, because if not, I mean, I've been doing everything I can to help you, but if you're not going to be able to get yourself together and lead us as a family, this is just so unhealthy. It was unhealthy. I mean, it was unhealthy. It was really unhealthy.
And I want to be clear, like, I'm normally like this. I feel like normally, just me as a person, but especially as your wife, I always come in with a tender side, and then I come in with like a strong, like a tender side, but then also like a more firm side. Like, I acknowledge the fact that you're going through, and I know that this is hard, but at the same time, we can do this, and we can get through this, and you got to get yourself together. I feel like I was all firm, because I was terrified. Like, in this particular situation, I felt like I needed to be very firm with you and very strong with you. I don't feel like my tender affections were helping at all.
I don't think nothing was helping.
So I felt like I needed to be more like, bae. Yeah. Like, this is very serious, and you need to go talk to somebody, get some counseling, some therapy, something, or you're going to lose everything. And what I meant by everything was me and these kids. Because this is not healthy, and we need you to be healthy. Not that I'm not allowing you your time and your space to do what you need to do, but you need to do that alongside a counselor.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, we talking like right now, like we talking about it really without a lot of, it sounds like it's easy to talk about, but we went through the experience. And so going through the experience, and obviously over time having to find some ways to heal through the process, obviously it's been one of the reasons why we can talk to you about it, because during that time it wasn't easy. And like she said, in that moment, I really wasn't hearing what anybody was saying.
No.
It could have been God himself, and I'd have been like, man, nah, that ain't it, God.
You looked so different than I have ever seen you looking in that. And I don't mean physically looking. I mean your whole vibe, the things that you were saying, your personality.
And They actually call that.
Even the girls.
Yeah, even the girls
saw something different in you.
They actually, it's a term that's called mental darkness. And I mean, that's what it is. You get into a really dark place and you kind of just phase out and you're lost in whatever the tragedy that you went through or you experienced. And so I remember you said that what you said, hey, you got to get some help. You got to try to figure this thing out. And then shortly after that, I was processing what you had said. Because I was still at this point, I was like, I just might want to check myself out.
I feel like you left. I feel like that day that I told you that, you got into the car and you left.
Yeah, I did.
You didn't tell me that you were leaving.
No, I sat in the car for a long time trying to figure out, okay, Lord, how we going to do this? I might just check out. I ain't got no purpose. I done did what you told me to do. Why am I still here? Why am I existing? I love my family, but I can't even provide for my family. You gotta keep in mind, I'm unemployed again. I ain't making no money, so I'm like, okay, round 2, God. I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here for this. So I think speaking of that, when I got back that day, this is what hit me. Because when I walked in the door, I believe it was Jayla who was sitting.
The girls were looking for you because they were like, Mommy, where? Daddy went outside. Where is he? And I'm like, I wish I could tell you, baby. I don't know. So I try to distract them. Like, I want to say I turned on a movie or something because they were very like, I don't know that they knew the details and the depth of what you were going through, but they can sense that something was wrong and then you just left. And it wasn't like dramatic or we weren't fighting or anything like that. It wasn't an argument. You just walked out of the door and you didn't. I think you may have said, I'll be back.
Yeah.
I think that's all you said.
And so when I came back in, I think Jayla was sitting on the sofa. And I'm sure Julia probably walked out. And Jayla was like, come on, Daddy, we want to watch Stranger Things. Because as you know, we watch Stranger Things together. Listen, I don't need no emails, no.
That he watches Stranger Things
with my babies. Okay. And so I'll never forget when at that same point when she was saying that, obviously she wanted me to watch it with her. She said, Dad, I need you. We need you. Come on, we want to watch this together. And
they would not watch it without you.
When they said that,
you got yourself together.
Man, I'm like, okay, hold on, Jay. You got to get yourself together. These babies telling they need you. And you sitting in the car talking about how you going to check out. And I think for me in that moment, I was just like, huh?
Oh, you were in the car talking about you were going to check out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said I said that. I'm sorry. I was just confused. Keep talking, man.
No confusement during this time. We gotta be on 100 right now. Because this is where it gets real for me. Because when she said that, I felt like in that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm sitting in this car talking about how I need to leave. They sitting here trying to figure out we need our dad. And the only thing I can think of in that moment is like, these girls need me. Like, I can't leave them by themselves trying to figure out why my daddy ain't here and I need him. And that's changed my whole world because at that moment, I realized that I needed to rescue myself for my children and obviously for my marriage to my wife. And so that's when I got on my grind, like, you know what? I got to figure this thing out. I do that well. I know how to figure stuff out. So let me figure this thing out. And so I ended up I found a mental health counselor who helped me.
Yeah.
And I found a Facebook group who actually helped pastors who were going through a lot and struggling. And I joined that group and ended up finding a gentleman who helped me just with some spiritual direction stuff, which was a really beautiful experience. I got as many resources as I could, books and stuff just to try to read and dive into as much as I could. I started taking some nightly meditation stuff, started praying a little bit more. I still struggled with God during that time. It wasn't like I had fully recovered with my experience that I had faced with God, but
and our relationship was still
we still
tattered.
It was a process, but I was at least able to get myself going again and get myself out of that dark place and into a place of at least trying to recover. And I would say recovery is still a process. Anybody who's going through experiences of trauma, and you're going through any painful moment of life, it's a process. It takes you some time to recover and heal, and so it's a journey. We're on this healing journey.
We still are
and
today.
and that is the thing. And I think one of the ways that we really got through those painful experiences is obviously trying to continue to have some level of resilience, because you knew how important your life was to the people who were around you, right? Uh, Obviously, you encouraging me and trying to share as much as you could to me doing the same thing during your painful moments, trying to encourage you and trying to share as much as I can with you to try to uplift you and pray for you during those times. And obviously, when you go through moments like that too, and you're experiencing those battles with God, trying to figure out, okay, God, are you part of this equation? Are you not? I don't even know if you're real, because all of this just fell apart and you were supposed to be a part of the process. And just learning that even during those times that we often get, obviously disappointed with God at times, and we're trying to figure out why God did this or why he allowed this. And that's hard and tough on anybody trying to figure out the sovereignty or the authority or the things that God desires to do through our lives, because we ain't God. Right. And I don't want to try to be God, because that's too heavy of a plate for me to be, and I'm not trying to be God.
I'm good.
And so you work through those things, and it's a process, it's a journey. And so I think my encouragement to anybody who's watching this is that just don't give up on the journey, because I know that at times the journey could be really challenging. You go through ups and downs. It's like a roller coaster. You're waving, you're going through all these different curves of life, but you do get to a place where you can find healing. And I think during this journey, one of the things that we've been able to do is find ways to heal.
Yeah. I'd say don't give up in the middle of your journey or the middle of your process, because we're here and we're able to talk to you guys about this without a lot of tears. There's definitely emotions that I think we're kind of trying to hold back. But these are extremely difficult things that we walked through, very painful and difficult. And I can see how we could have easily been this is just way too painful. I'm either going to take myself out, or I'm going to live my life in a state of depression, or I'm going to live my life in a state of sadness and sorrow. Easily do that. I have to say that it's harder to fight, but if you fight, and when I say fight, I mean continue to wake up every morning, continue to push, continue to seek joy, continue to seek peace, continue to do things that bring you joy, continue to do things that bring you peace. Eventually, you can get yourself out of it. Eventually, you can be in a place where joy and peace is your dwelling place. Is where you always are.
I think that's
and
key,
although these things that we're talking about, for example, we're talking about Jayla and her diabetes, it's chronic. Jayla has been diabetic for 8 years. We still believe that she's going to be healed. Whether that's going to be through some type of modern technology or it is going to be a miraculous miracle from God himself. We still believe that, and we still walk in that. But Jayla's situation is just as real as it was 8 years ago as it is today. All the facts that the doctor shared with us in the hospital are exactly the same today. The difference is that we kept moving and we kept pushing, and we're no longer depressed about that. We are not living in a constant state of depression. Do we have our moments where we're like, man, I can't believe this child got this? Absolutely. But we did not stay there. So you can still have very real situations going on in your life that really haven't changed, but your perspective and how you deal with them has changed. And I think that's the biggest thing that I would want to say is that don't give up in the middle of your painful situations. I know that you can't see beyond them. I could not see beyond Jayla's situation. I thought I was going to be crying forever. I couldn't see beyond that. But there is definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. There is joy and there is peace.
It's definitely
if you go look for it.
If you go look for it. And I think that's the biggest thing, like you said, with Jayla. we still believe healing. It may come through whatever medical device that they create within this world. It may be her. Or we still believe that God might miraculously heal her body. And as we, as I'm in this clinical space now, pastoral care, one of the things that we learned is it's both and. It's not just, a lot of people, we gotta stop this idea that, hey, if God don't fix it, then we don't have a chance.
Right.
And I think that's what happened to me when everything happened with the church. I'm like, okay, God, you were supposed to be here to take care of this, or to prevent this, not to allow this to happen. And when it happened, now God, if it ain't you taking care of it and you not making it right, it's done. I don't have a chance to move forward.
Yeah.
And I think we have to understand that it's not just God, if you don't fix it, we check out and we're done with life.
Right.
No, there's resources. God has put people here in this world to be an answer to you. People who've gone through tragic situations, people who've gone through depression and anxiety, who overcome. Some of you might be going through divorce. Some of you might be going through a loss of a child. Some of you might be going through a loss of a loved one, loss of a job, whatever that tragic moment that you face. People have gone through these things and they've survived. And so you gotta, like you said, you gotta go find it.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Go find it. Go find someone who is going to be able to be an answer to you, because I promise you, there's some therapist, there's some counseling, there's some person, there's somebody in this world who can help you. There's a book, there's a course, there's something that you can tap into to find healing for your life.
I'm so glad you said that, because I feel like that when we're in the middle of our whatever it is, you feel so lonely.
Yeah.
You feel like there can't be possibly anybody that's going through what I'm going through. Yeah. There can't be anybody that knows how painful this is. But there are, like, one of the big things that helped me when Jayla was diagnosed is that we got a mentor.
Yeah.
Of a lady whose child was diagnosed at the same age of Jayla. And for her to regurgitate exactly how I was feeling was like, oh my God, like, okay, I'm not alone in this. There are other people. Guys, you are not alone. No matter how lonely your walk may feel or your situation may feel, there is somebody who has already gone through that, who have mastered that, who've taken the course and got their degree in it. So don't do your life alone. Go seek help. Somebody can help you get through it.
I promise you, somebody will help you get through it. Mm-hmm. I think that's all we got until the next episode. So we got some more things we want to stuff. We're going to get deeper, man. We're going to talk about this stuff, man, because this is stuff that people don't want to talk about, but it's the stuff that we're going through. And, you might have a lot of questions that you're considering, you're thinking, and you're processing. And so we want to help you along that journey, because there are answers. And hopefully we can be an answer to some of the things that you guys are going through. So until the next episode, guys, take care.
Bye.
And continue to heal as you go through your journey. See you later.